Welcome to the Ages of Rock podcast with your hosts Bill Algie, Dennis Talbot, and Alan Tate. We are three guys who have one thing in common, a love of rock and roll. Our goal is to talk about all things rock. We hope you find this show intriguing, funny, and occasionally highly opinionated. Enjoy!
Hey, welcome back to the Ages of Rock podcast. This is episode number 372. That's a lot, by the way.
That's a lot.
In case you're wondering. So yeah, we're down the road a little bit there. This week we have some guys from the band Whitecross. You may have heard of them in the past. They've been around for a day or two. They're going to talk about their new record that's coming out on March 22nd. With us tonight is guitarist Rex Carroll and David Roberts. How are you guys doing?
Hey, what's up, guys?
We're doing all right.
Good to see you all. David Roberts, of course, is our lead vocalist. And is Benny going to join us later, our bass player?
He was here earlier
on and then disappeared.
He froze.
He froze.
He went like this, but you told me to freeze.
He did. I think he saw that your name popped up and it scared the crap out of him and you left.
Well, we're here and we're happy to talk with you, and we're grateful for the opportunity to be on your show. And that's very impressive. Do you do like this every week? I mean,
we did.
We did for a while.
Every week, every couple of weeks. You know, that's a lot of episodes. That's a lot of years already.
Yeah, we've been at it for, it's been about 7 years, 6 years to 7 years. And we were doing them weekly for a while. And it got to the point where we were like,
we ran out of topics.
And then we ran out of people, and then
right.
Rock and rollers say all the same thing, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's rock and roll. It's just rock and roll.
Yeah. So so we've kind of dialed it back a little bit, and lives have changed and stuff like that. So but it's good. It's great. We got it. It's cool for us to be able to sit down with some great artists and have some discussions and learn about people and what's going on in their world and hearing about new music. That's the best part of this. So you guys have a new record coming out, right? Here in just a few days, the 22nd.
Yes, we do. It's called Fear No Evil, and I'm holding a copy of it in my hot little hand right here. Look at that, ladies and gentlemen. Pretty awesome.
Sweet. That's sweet.
I love the artwork. You guys' artwork is always so cool.
We have a graphic design guy out by Kansas City. He's amazing. That would be Wendell Wright. And he latched on to our band about 5-6 years ago, and he's been with us since then. So we love Wendell. He does great work for us.
Beautiful human.
Yes.
Cool.
And he's an artist too. Works with his hands and builds. He'll go to like these different farms and like take their old wood and create like a beautiful like dining room table or whatever.
Yeah, custom furniture from wood.
Wow.
Just a talented dude.
Plus, he gets around with his camera and he does photography for a lot of groups and stuff. So
yeah,
we're happy he's part of our Whitecross team. We have a lot of great people that work with us. We have Sue, our executive producer, and we have the record company. We got the people over at Dark Star Records, and we've got radio promotion and PR promotion, all this stuff going on with us. So we have a lot of good things going for us. So we're grateful for all of it.
Cool.
But the record stands on its own two legs. I love this album. It's got some of our best music, and the sound of it is like through the roof. It's amazing. It's the best sounding record I've ever done. So
I was just telling David earlier before you got on, I said it's a very guitar oriented. And for a person like myself who, plays guitar, I really enjoyed it. I was listening to it earlier, just going through it, and love the riffs. There's a lot of new sounding stuff, but then there's a lot of stuff that sounds familiar for us that have been around a few days. But it all sounds fresh. Don't get me wrong. It doesn't date you, but it's got some great riffs in it.
I was coming up in the 1970s as a teenager and coming of age in the 80s with all the great guitar heroes from the 80s, was considered the heavy metal music back then, but the LA rock scene, you had all the groups starting from Van Halen to Rat and Motley Crue and Dokken and Whitesnake and all of these great bands that just had amazing musicians. And the three things that they all had, and that I consider is the important thing for Whitecross. You got to have, you got to have three things, four things really. You got to have a great song to start with, and then you need an amazing lead singer. So we have David Roberts, who has been compared to Ronnie James Dio, David Coverdale, Jeff Tate, Sammy Hagar. So I'm thrilled that people have this conversation, and he's in the conversation as just slotting right in another talent like those guys. And then you got to have great guitar, and I do my best on that. And thank you for the compliment there. And then you got to have a great band, and you've got to have a great live presentation. So I like to think that as long as I've been doing this band, I feel like we're hitting on all of those points here lately. So we're finally just achieving that level that where I would put this band up against. We would be compatible with any rock band, anytime, anywhere. Because that's what we do all day long. People say, "Well, I got to go to work." It's like, well, this is my work.
Yeah.
And we love our work, man. We love our work.
Yeah, I go to work too, but I don't get to do this at work. I do other things.
No, my work's not as cool as this. Trust me.
It's fun sometimes, but it's not this kind of fun. That's for sure. So
Right.
I noticed that the new record that's coming out, it's been a little while since you've had a record out, right? It's been a couple of years, if I'm not mistaken. So is that right?
Yeah, that's more than right.
Well, it's been I wasn't sure how far to stretch that, but it's been a bit.
I don't know how well you guys know Whitecross music, the band. I don't know if you just learned about us recently or if you're longtime fans or what, but we have been together as a band since 1985. Our first album came out in 1987, and the original singer, I had actually left the band for 6 years from 94 until 2000. So we started up again in the year 2000, and we tried to make a new album. We did a re-recording of our first album because the technical quality was not that great, although people bought it like crazy. It's like um, people who like this kind of music, they were just eating it up. But other than that, we haven't done any new music for like many, many years. And it was just things were just kind of had just bogged down to where we were at like a stalemate in the group. So our original vocalist left and Dave Roberts came in, and man, it's just been like forward gung ho, all engines firing at the same time. And there's like a common purpose and a common goal. And what's great between David and myself is we speak the same language musically. We both come from that bluesier, heavy rock era of the early '80s, like that kind of that Whitesnake sound. I mean, Deep Purple was like a big influence for me growing up. And you can certainly ask Dave about some of his influences, but so it was just a natural thing. When Dave came in, it's like, okay, now the creativity gateways are open again, and so it's natural that we start creating new music again. And so that took about a couple of years, and COVID got in the way of that a little bit. But so here we are, and we have our new album. It's called Fear No Evil, and I love it, and it's the greatest thing I've ever done. Yay!
Hey.
And every artist, that's what you want your next record to be, right? You want it to be the best, better than the last one, and the best one you've ever done. That's the purpose.
I was having a conversation about that today with somebody, and we just agreed that, I mean, my theory is that, whatever you put out as an artist, uh, it doesn't make any sense to, well, that sounded pretty good, Dave. That vocal sounded okay. I mean, it wasn't your best work, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
Like, what? Like, oh, that guitar solo was okay, I guess. That sounds like a filler, but you know what? Who cares? We'll just put it out. I don't understand that kind of thinking at all.
Well,
I don't
if you're
understand.
not upping the bar, why do it?
Exactly.
You know,
Every single time you put something out, it has to be the best thing
yeah.
you've ever done. And, win, lose, or draw, at the end of the day, I can walk away from it knowing that, well, as far as I'm concerned, this is like a great album for myself. I love it. I love the songs. I love this band. I love the message in the music. I love everything in it. I'm just really happy to be part of it. And I'm talking too much, so
No, no.
y'all can talk to
That's good stuff, Rex.
So David, how do in as you guys started doing the new record and stuff like that, kind of what was did you put the lyrics on there, or did that all come?
Really, I mean, not that much. I did on a
Okay.
couple, I mean, Rex is, in my opinion, honest opinion, I mean, he's like a musical genius to me, because he'll write a riff that is like right up my alley, and then he'll say, okay, here's the melody line, and we, he may come with a whole song all already prepared, and sing it for me like an octave lower about where he wants to go, and of course I get creative freedom, but not, I don't need much freedom, because he's already given me something really perfect, but I just take a hold of it and work with it, and mold it into my own style on that riff, and staying within the guidelines of the melody, and it's worked beautifully, but Rex is really the musical genius behind the songwriting. I mean, I contribute with my vocals, and a little bit with lyrics, but that's the reality of it. And he always has been. I mean, all the Whitecross stuff has been all Rex. I mean, I guess Scotty wrote the lyrics on some of the stuff, but you know, Rex was always doing the producing, and he's got such a great ear. He can, if you hit a note and it's just a little bit flat or sharp. I mean, he's made me a better singer, but hit a little, no, a little sharp or flat, he's gonna let you know, hey, dude.
Yeah.
That's not the way I wrote that.
Yeah.
You got to go up.
Yeah, one thing that's a concern to me in that is I'm terrified of the idea that, like if Dave and I are working together in the studio, and if he's behind the mic and I'm sitting behind the console and I'm pressing on the talkback button, dude, that was a little sharp. No, that one was a little flat. Over a period of time, I don't want to have any walls of resentment building up.
Yeah.
So one of our ways to get around that is when we have a song that we feel is working out well for the band, we have a couple of options. We have people in Nashville. We're good friends with a guy named John Lowry, who
Great
I've
grand.
known for many years. He helped us out with the vocals, and I just turned the session over to John. I said, John, you work with Dave, and you can nail him down on the sharp and the flat, and sing it more of this, sing it more of that, whatever. And that way, I don't have to be uh, put into that position of telling my fellow bandmate this or that or the other. And it takes a lot of trust for me as a writer to do that, because a lot of the lines in the song will come out differently, and I'll be sometimes like, well, I don't know if this is going in the right way, but I've learned to trust the process. We all trust the process. And Dave, I think you are the same way. Sometimes you're in there by the end of the day, you're singing this, you're singing like 100 different things, and by the end of the day, you have no idea
Yeah.
how it came out, right?
Yeah, that's so true. That session, it took a week to record the vocals. We did them in Nashville, and yeah, after we got through, I told Rex, I said, I don't even know what I did. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, we were putting in 8 hours a day or whatever it was, sometimes 13, I think, the first or second day, but
yeah.
just solid singing, you know, and yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I heard some stuff. I was going, oh wow, that sounds really good.
Yep.
Did
Yep.
I do
But
that?
but when you have a process like that, the end result is always, so it's never quite the same as what what came straight out of my head, but that's fine because Dave does his thing. He's a great singer and he gets stronger as you think, well, singing like 12 hours a day for 7 days straight, when you kind of wear down? Yeah, a little bit at the end, but got such a strong voice. He gets stronger as the shows accumulate. And as the vocal sessions accumulate, he just gets better and better and more dialed in.
That's one thing we've seen with a lot of our people that we like, our heroes, or people that we listen to a lot. There are some of those people that as they get older, it seems like it's like your voice, their voice even gets better. And then there's the ones that just they hit a wall and they either stop singing or they try to keep going
And they should
fail
have stopped
miserably.
singing.
And they should have stopped singing. I just saw a thing the other day where Robert Plant's been doing a lot of stuff with Alison Krauss, been doing all that stuff with her. But they did like an old Zeppelin song, just popped up on YouTube, and he was hitting some stuff. I'm like going, dude can still do it. He just doesn't, he's just not pushing it, but he can still do it. And God love him for doing that. It's great to see people who still have their voice.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and he's not trying to do it on a tour of
well,
3 or 4 nights a week
That's
for
true too.
12 weeks and that kind of stuff either.
That's true
But
too.
yeah,
But
yeah. So do you think so I know that some bands don't use outside producers, they do try to produce a lot of them. Do you think that helps you guys then with,
Totally.
yeah, pushing each other in a different way and the band to do better things? I know that some bands, even some of my favorite bands have a tendency to be self-produced, and that you lose some things after a while with that. You don't have that person telling you to do something different.
I can just tell you from my personal experience that the first producer I ever had was a really great guy. He was a mentor, and he taught me how to play guitar. And he doesn't play guitar, but he taught me how to be uh, a rock guitar player. And and he knew so much about the guitar. And I would challenge him on his points. He goes, "Oh, well, that's the way Gary Moore does it." And I would say, "Well, how would you know?" He says, "Well, when I was in the studio with Gary and talking to him about his techniques, and he explained to me that this is how he does this thing or the other thing." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So that was my first producer, and I'll always have a soft spot for Mr. Delahan from Atlantic Records, and be forever grateful for that. But then after that, it my experience with producers, it just went straight to hell in a handbasket.
Mm.
Um, had had mostly producers who are like, well, they're sort of my friend in the studio, but they're working for the record company. They're getting paid by the record company. And this, of course, is back in the analog days. And then in the digital world that we've all transitioned into, um, just I finally have got to the point where I'm going to produce my band because nobody is going to advocate for I want that bass guitar lick to be heard. You think about the bass player for a minute. Everybody's, oh, the guitar is great, right? We already on this podcast we've talked about the guitars. Oh, the guitars, but how about some love for the bass player? Well, he's not gonna, he's gonna get buried. or what about the drummer? Let's have some love for the drummer. Everybody's got their place to shine. So I am all in favor of advocating for my band, and in the studio, it's got to be, people can't do their best work if they don't know that the whole thing is, we're all in. When Dave is singing, the whole band, we're all in his corner. We want him to do his best work, and the engineers that we'll work with, we want to push him in the sessions so that he does things that even Dave didn't know that Dave could do.
Yeah.
And that's how I want to do my guitars, and I just want the record to come out great. So I've just had enough bad experiences with producers that and even back in the day, I said to the record label a couple times, well, if you get me a real producer, and I could name drop the guy that we got, but I won't do that. But they called me up 2 days later. Guess what? We got you this guy that you wanted. He's one of the guys who worked on some of the LA rock bands that I mentioned earlier. And he came into the studio and he looked at our project. Oh, you guys aren't well known like these other groups. This is just a little side project, cash flow for me. He didn't care. He had his engineer do the whole thing. He didn't have anything to contribute, nothing to contribute. He just took the money and did the minimal amount of work. So, that was like the last straw. After that is like, no, I got to advocate for myself and for my band and make sure that our voice is heard collectively and that our records come out sounding amazing, like Fear No Evil.
Yeah, it's a great sounding record. There's no
And
doubt
Rex,
about it.
And Rex, you just mentioned the bass player, and guess who pops up?
Sorry, guys. I got kicked out and I couldn't get back on. I'm so sorry.
I'm falling and I can't get up.
That's what it felt like.
He was just talking great about you, and all of a sudden, you went, pop.
You just appear. It's amazing.
Well, Benny, we were just talking about producers in albums, and I was just saying that if there's like a bass lick that you play, I want to make sure that it gets heard on the album and not buried in the mix.
Yeah, we certainly hope so. Because the bass is needs to be heard over everything.
Right. Everything louder than everything else.
Yeah.
Hey Rex, what's that saying from who was it? Somebody from Pink Floyd said something about a band.
Yeah, Henderson, the drummer, he said, I thought this was great. He said a band consists of a bass player and a drummer, and then various assorted novelty acts on the top.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. I love it.
That's funny.
That's probably fair.
Also, I like the Yngwie Malmsteen mentality. How can less be more? More is more. And I had an engineer friend from back in the day, and he used to say the same thing. Yeah, more is really a lot. It's just the way that he said it. Well, they say that less is more, but actually more is like really a lot. So I like a lot. I like a lot of lots of lots.
Yeah.
Cool.
So David, as far as now that with the record coming out, what are you guys going to do about touring? Are you going to tour this? Are you going to go out and start hitting the road?
Yeah, absolutely. We did a little tour in Europe last October.
Right.
And told everybody that it's coming out, that it was actually finished, but just not ready. But yeah, we definitely plan on touring a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys do it? So do you go along with other Christian acts, or do you get involved with other, like on a tour with or do you play along with other bands? Being a Christian act, I know that a lot of times that it's you want to stay with their same, kind of. I'm saying this wrong with the word.
Yeah, he's just butchering this.
No, because I always found this kind of interesting, because I was telling you earlier about a friend of mine who left our band and started playing with the Evansville band back in the 80s, about the same time you guys were getting started. And it was just the way that you toured, you did certain things, but you didn't play the same places everybody else has played. So
We do both, I
Okay.
think.
right.
Yeah, we'll play anywhere, and we'll play with any band. We do have some dates coming up with Petra this year,
Okay.
which is one of the
Petra's
well-known Christian rock bands.
Petra's been around forever. I mean, it's the
Yes,
same
and
same
they
as you
have a
guys.
huge audience, so
Right.
we'll do shows with them. And we're doing on March 22nd, which is the day that the record is released worldwide. We have a record release party in Pittsburgh happening.
Cool.
So we are getting around. And earlier today I was just talking with a promoter friend of mine in Sweden. So we're setting up some dates over there. So I would say we're still doing a lot of one-offs, a lot of weekend dates,
Okay.
some fly-in stuff, some stuff that's like just regional. Um, but we are hoping to upgrade that to, where we have enough, because we used to be back in the 90s, especially, we were like full-time touring all the time.
Mhm.
Right.
We just didn't tour very smart or very as well as we could have or should have, but we didn't have anybody advising us
Right.
on how to run our business either. So, we were just kids who had a rock band, and we were doing the best we could with it
The
at the
thing is,
time.
now you're
Now
older.
we've been the guinea pigs for so many experiments, from other people. Now we've
Right.
lived and learned, and now we're trying to do things a little better, a little smarter, a little wiser. And now we're all a little older too, so
Yeah.
it goes with the territory, I guess.
I mean, you've got the music, and especially your new album, you got the songs. You got great music out there. If as long as if you go out and play that stuff live, people are gonna love it. So get out there.
That's the hope,
No, that's
That's
the goal.
yeah.
Yeah, we've even had where we opened up this last I think it was October, or we did open up for Stephen Piercy, and
There you go.
that was a really eye opener for us as well. I think we were able to gain some fan base that we didn't people didn't even know about us. We've been around for decades, but it was good to kind of refreshing to hear people saying, "Wow, I never heard of your band. You guys are so good." And so getting the touch from a different fan perspective, because we do, us being a Christian band, we do have a fan base, and that has been with us for years, and we like to tap in with them, but also as well going into a different side of things as well, just not only just in Christian music, but other than Christian music still.
Yeah, the genre is the same genre. It's just a matter of
Yes.
what the lyrics and the message is being passed, passed in the lyrics. I mean, that's
Mhm.
otherwise
Yeah.
it's you can't tell the difference. And then I
No.
mean, musically, sounds great. I mean, it sounds
See,
just like any other rock band. So I don't know
Right.
why it matter. And I know that
Well, and
some people really
you
like.
followed them more than I did. Like I said, I was always, I knew about Stryper, and I had their albums, and I had a few things. But you actually, Bill, you were really kind of followed that for a long time.
Yeah, I was.
More
I
than
mean,
I did.
yeah, for sure. Red,
But
and I mean, even some of the newer bands,
Right.
Red, and some of those folks. I mean, I followed them and stuff like that.
Right.
And it's just big, but I think it's also, band. I've always felt, music is about emotion too, right? It's if
Right.
it grabs you and it moves you and it makes you think about something different, or if it
Mhm.
takes you to a different place, or if it, sometimes I believe that, well, personally, and I know this is a whatever, but, I believe God puts things in your place to get your attention sometimes, and sometimes it's a band that they put in your way to go. You need to think about what they're saying to you, and it could be even a metal band. I mean, a regular metal band, not
Yeah.
just.
Mhm.
It doesn't have
Right.
to be.
Right.
So I don't care a whole lot when people start trying to figure out how to pigeonhole
Right.
stuff. Just don't
Yeah.
pigeonhole it. Make it just be rock and be done with it.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you look at things historically, in the 1960s, rock music was very young. and it was kind of like in its teenage years, and it was all about, sex, drugs, rock and roll, and rebellion. And, that's always, the young bands are always going to be starting from that point. And we just, we've been around for a while, like we said, and we just want to present a positive message that, hey, God is cool. And if you want to be like, if you want to live your life like Gene Simmons, you can certainly do that. We're not telling anybody don't live your life like Gene Simmons or Stephen Piercy, but by the same token, we have messages in our songs too, and people say, "Oh, leave your religion out of your music, or leave your politics out of your music," and that drives people nuts, doesn't it? When musicians start talking about politics or issues. But if you think about it, every single artist has opinions about politics or the situation, things going on in the world, and every single one of them is spouting off their views. And sometimes, there's one guy I saw on TV back in the day. Hey, come join us for MTV Hedonism Weekend. And then later on, he's talking about, well, you can't. We're just, we're not political. We just put our music across. No, there's nothing. Kids should not listen to us for any kind of a message. But then later on, same guy, he's at Farm Aid, and he's like, well, yes, it's very nice that we can have this platform so that we can influence the world and be a positive voice for change. It's like, well, make up your mind, which one you want to. The reality is, every musician out there has things that they want to say through their art, and art. And in the larger sense of the word, art is where, if you think about what is culture, culture comes from the arts first. It comes from the arts, has a tremendous capacity to shape the world and the way we think. And so we just want to, with our music, we just want to present something positive that people can grab onto, something that I feel good about sharing with my kids and their friends. So if that makes me sound a little bit like your dad, oh well, so be it. But I think people look at some
we're
of
the
the
same age as
characters.
you, trust me.
I think people look at some of the characters that are out there, like the Gene Simmons types people, and it's like, yeah, would you really want to uh, live your life that way and sort of present that kind of image to your family and those around you? So I don't know, everybody, it's a big world, and there's plenty of room for everything, and good music is good music. And in this album, it rocks. Like I said, I couldn't be more excited about it, and it's got the riffs, and it's got the songs, and it's got the vocals. So it's rock and roll at the end of the day. It's music.
Yeah.
Is that going to be
Music is something that brings us together.
Is it going to be available in vinyl?
I certainly hope so.
Well, I hope so.
We've
I
had a
got
lot of people
ton of
talk
vinyl.
about that's
Bill and I will be first
you are
ones to
far
buy.
from the only person who's asked that question. I guess if about 6 months from now, we'll know how well the album is doing. And the early indicators are that it has done really well with the pre-sales, and the excitement level and the interest level is certainly seems to be there. So I would reasonably predict it's a good possibility of some vinyl. So can't say for sure, but just if the current trend continues, and yeah, we'll come back to this next year, and
Well, if you do a limited run, Bill and I should get an email.
Yeah.
Because Bill and I will both buy one.
We'll keep tabs on that bad boy. That's for sure. Rex, one of the things that for me, we get sent new music periodically, but for me, that first cut on the record, that first song, if that first song doesn't grab me, I am done. I mean, I have I have ditched so many
Are you
records,
talking
so
about
much
the,
stuff that we've gotten.
Bill will throw away
I-
a classic if that first song sucks. He's like out of
I
there.
just, it
Oh, I
just-
see what you're saying. You put on a CD and right away, if the first song either grabs you or it's like,
He's
and
yeah,
then if you're out, then
he's
you're out
smash or
on the
trash.
whole
yeah. I don't go to two.
album.
I don't go to, and I'm sure as I'm not going to 10.
So you'll make it like 20 seconds into the first song and you've already made up your mind.
Yeah, I'll give it a little bit longer than that, but it's got to
Right.
be, it's got to be, there's got to be the riff. It's got to be something that's engaging, and it could be even a ballad on the front, just as long as it's engaging. But there's so many times that you get something that's just the first cut is garbage. But I'm telling you, the first cut, the way we rock on this album,
What's the way that we rock?
it grabs you. It's
All
a grabber.
killer, no filler. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And I think
I'm
that
I'm the
speaks
same
volumes.
way. I listen to something new, and it's like I'm always cautious. Or, well, okay, so the music starts. All right, it's kind of a cool riff, but there's still this little asterisk in the back of my head. Yeah, but let's see what happens when the vocalist comes in, and then a lot of times, oh, it's kind of a letdown. But then when I hear like a David Roberts, I'm like, oh yeah. Then I'm,
Absolutely, that can make such.
Then I want to crank it up.
Yeah, it makes such a big difference. I reviewed a record not long ago from a very well-known guitar player in his band, and boy, the riffs were great. The vocalist was horrific. I mean, I don't, somebody didn't love them enough to go back and go, okay, you ask us to listen to this and don't put it out. It's just,
Well,
but they
you
didn't.
gotta have guys that you believe in,
But they didn't have David. That was the problem.
Yeah.
I
mean,
needed a better singer. The guitar is great.
People go, I'll sit here confidently and tell you that, you got to roll with the David Roberts because he'll put your mind at ease the same way when you're listening to a beautiful David Coverdale, Still of the Night, or what any of the, or Here I Go Again or something. You just want to hear that amazing, big, larger than life vocal. Yeah, it's here. We got it.
And
Do you ever throw any of that into
Unfortunately-
do you ever throw any of that into the show? Any of the 80s metal stuff, rock stuff? Do you ever throw one of those in the show just for kicks and giggles or anything?
Not so much in a Whitecross show, but I think Dave, you got your
I
start
certainly
playing
am.
with a lot of tribute bands, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I do Whitesnake, Zeppelin, and Sammy Hagar tributes.
Oh,
Now
nice.
I'm getting busier with Whitecross. Whitecross, of course, is my number one band, and those other bands are like my day job. So
Not a bad day job either. It's like great.
so it's like, but mostly, I mean, I'm doing a Sammy Hagar show, but I do a lot of Zeppelin shows in between Whitecross, and that pretty much fills me up. So I haven't done any. I used to do a lot of White Snake, and in fact, that's how I got into this band. Is the drummer saw a YouTube of me doing White Snake, band called Saints and Sinners, and then that's how I met these guys. It was basically through that. I mean, that was the beginning of it. But yeah, tribute bands and rock and roll as I've done all my life. Well, not tribute bands. I mean, I've done original stuff too, but
Right.
But when I had the opportunity to sing rock and roll and have the message be about Jesus, I was like, I'm all in, because
That's cool.
I'm a believer, I'm not ashamed of it.
Yeah.
And I love rock and roll. So to me, it's just, this is like, this is so cool for me. I couldn't be happier.
Cool.
That's great.
And
That's
us
good.
too.
Yeah, John,
That's
how long?
good.
So how long have you been in the band, John? Or Ben? Sorry, I said John.
Oh,
Ben,
yeah,
Ben.
John.
Yeah.
Well, I was a newbie for a while before Dave got in the band. Now he's a new kid, but I was always referred as a new kid, even up until like a few years ago when Dave entered in, because I've been now 24 years, coming up on 24 years now. And so now that new kid title goes to Dave. So
Yes.
I remember when I joined that one band, I was a new guy for so long, and then finally we had a new singer come in and going, thank goodness. I'm not the new guy no more. She's the new gal because I can't take this no more. And then I outlasted them all, actually.
Yeah.
So.
Do they still, Dennis, do they still make you tear down the sets and stuff and put them up and just being the new guy, even though you weren't the new guy anymore?
I owned everything. I owned the trailer, the PA,
Yeah.
the lights, everything. So
That's why you were
yes,
the new guy.
well,
It's hard to kick you out now.
well, I came in and I said, you know what, you guys have crap. So I started, I invested everything I made back into the band, which they didn't do. And then 9 years later, I owned everything. So
Wow.
then I left, and
Isn't
they
that
didn't have
how,
nothing.
Isn't that how David Lee Roth got the gig in Van Halen? Because he owned
Basically, because he owned it.
Yeah, he owned all
Well, and then Ozzy did the same thing. He had a PA system.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
And,
wow.
and they went to his house because they go, we need a singer and we need a PA, and you have both.
Now, was
And
it
then
Ozzy
turns
or
out
Sharon's?
He's not half bad as a singer either.
Yeah, okay.
I think David had the apartment too. I think that was the other gig. I think he had
Who knows?
if I'm not mistaken. I think he had the apartment.
Now, was it Ozzy's or was it Sharon's?
No, that was
Oh,
before
sure.
Back then, it was
Sharon. That
probably
was way
well,
before Sharon. This is Black
Lord
Sabbath
knows,
days.
right?
This was back. Yeah, I'm kidding.
It's hard to tell
Anyway.
back then with him for sure who owned what.
Well, anyway, I'm loving the new. Like I said, I've been listening to it. I'm loving the new album, and it was one of those things where you were talking about earlier, Rex. You weren't on my radar. That's one thing I love about this podcast is I get to hear bands, not new bands to me. Not that you guys are new because you've been around forever, but it's new to me, and I that's one thing I love about this show is I find new music because it's hard to find nowadays.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, that's what it is. And that's why we do these podcasts because we're, you're no matter how long you're in business, you're constantly exposing yourself to new listeners. You think about some of these icons that we're talking about here tonight, Ozzy or David Coverdale. You talk to a 17-year-old and you go, what do you think of Ozzy? And they say, yeah, I've heard that name before. Who is that again?
He's that old dude.
They don't even know. They don't even know, right? So every day you're reaching out to new people and you're trying to reach people with your music. So here we are, and the best way for us to really get this record out there is to go out and play it live. So that's what we're going to do.
Hopefully, we'll see you
what
soon.
I call it when the 17-year-old doesn't know Ozzy?
What's that?
Bad
parenting.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
True that.
Bad parenting.
Yeah.
My kids know.
If nothing else, at least they know about Kiss, right?
Oh, they know plenty of that.
Yeah.
They know about a lot of bands. We that's been something that's always been really important for me. So we go to a lot of stuff together, and it's cool. I have kids that are 25 and 30 and whatever now, and we go to stuff together still because it's that I think music is just something that's it bonds people and stuff.
Yeah,
like
it's magical. Absolutely.
Yeah. So they drag you to see some of their bands too, right?
Yeah, I'm not as willing as they are to come to mind. I have to admit that I sometimes don't reciprocate as much as I probably should.
You mean Ariana Grande or anything? Or,
oh yeah.
I know who she is. Will I go see her? No.
Yeah. I know who she is. Actually, I think I saw her. She opened for somebody on a country tour, and she was there, and I saw her for that. So.
Oh, really? You actually seen it? I gotta give you props for that.
I did.
Well,
So, yeah.
You're better than me.
All right,
I think our next album is going to be. We've been having discussions about trying to do a cross between country and disco.
Sure. Hey, you know what? That you can do anything you want anymore. And
That's true.
There's a genre.
It'll be your one. It'll be that one album. It's like the Kiss's Elder. It'd be like your one experimental album.
Yeah.
Everybody goes,
Now we
huh?
came back to our regular one. It's like,
Right. Right.
Just
Oh,
to
you're
give a-
asking me, you're asking me to do the Bee Gees falsetto voice?
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Just do us a favor.
I like what Angus Young said when they go, I get really pissed off when people say you have 14 albums out that all sound the same. These people should know we have 16 albums out that all sound the same.
Exactly.
That's brilliant.
And you know what? As the bank keeps rolling,
And they sold a
he
ton of
doesn't
them,
care.
you know.
Yeah, right. So I mean, with this record for us too, we talk about in our songs, our audience has gotten to know us, and they know that, all these things that we've talked about. Well, it's a guitar band, there's lots of guitar riffs, and we have the vocals to go along with, and we have the amazing production. We hired some really great talent in Nashville to work with us on the mix and mastering and all that kind of stuff. So all the technical stuff sounds great. So the album will sound huge in your car stereo.
Cool.
But it's just a continuation of everything that we've done from day one until now. It's just more of the same.
So Rex, you've been in since day one.
Yeah, from day one, 1985, when we started.
So
the
you're
band. I had already been an artist on. I had my one big shot on Atlantic Records back in 1985.
Okay.
So in '84 on a record that came out in '85, and that album ended up not selling, although everybody thought that Atlantic loved it. They thought it was brilliant. But then I met Scott Wenzel in the summer of '85. We started working on Whitecross. That came out in '87, and everybody bought it, even though technically we didn't really know what we were doing. But so we just started from ground zero, and we built. Every year we just continued to build incrementally more and more and more. So, and that brings us to where we are now. And all the knowledge that we've acquired along the way, it's like, so now it goes out on this project.
Cool.
That's cool.
Well, Rex, where can people find you?
A great place to find us is whitecrossband.com. And when the new record comes out, it'll be on Amazon, basically, for those of us in the US, worldwide too. Wherever you buy music, because I don't even know where people go. I guess probably 90% of the people buy their music from Amazon, right?
No,
iTunes,
actually, we have a local
yeah.
record store that I buy a lot of my stuff
Okay, you
from.
have a local
great.
record store. Congratulations, that's awesome. And
Yes.
there was nothing I would love to see better than like a comeback for
Yeah.
mom and pop stores in
yeah,
general
there's-
of all
There's
kinds.
a little bit of music over there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I can't quite turn mine around that far, but I've got, but anyway,
Yeah.
I get the same thing.
Well, that's great. You're
Yeah.
buying it from the store because
Yeah, no, we have a nice store here, and they're very good people, and and we try to pre-order stuff from them whenever we can.
There's a place. The good part about the iTunes and the Amazons and those guys right now is the physical. It's so easy to carry things around in your car and on your phone, and the connectivity that we all have now. But I still like having a physical product. I still like
absolutely
having an album, that I can read the lyrics on, and that kind of stuff. So for me, that's still kind of a thing. I don't buy. I mean, obviously I don't buy every single thing that I listen to, but if
we live in a different world than we used to. When all of us were kids,
Rex,
you purchased the album. Oh, that's a beautiful.
That's a nice.
That's
over. When I knew he was getting up, I'm like,
this is called a Harper. It's made a guy from Boonville. This is actually all handmade. This is a one-off.
Oh, how gorgeous! The play.
Beautiful, man.
It is
really nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, You've been holding that guitar all day. I'm like going, damn,
Very nice. Yeah. Well, I just have my Charvel and,
love those. They're great.
Standard issue rock and rollers. Of course, this is Jakey Lee's signature model.
Nice.
So
Can't go wrong with that, though.
Jake is one of my favorite guitar players. So people want to know what the album sounds like. It sounds like Jakey Lee. It sounds like George Lynch. It sounds like Warren DeMartini. It sounds like John Sykes.
Sounds like Rex Carroll, and it sounds really good.
Yeah, it sounds like me too. Yeah.
Don't sell
So
yourself
for
short,
better
man.
and for worse, all of that. But you think about where albums are at nowadays. Kids are they have about a 20-second attention span, and that's because of TikTok.
Yep.
Right. And
Exactly.
everybody's just like this all day long, myself included. So, so we're all guilty of just living half of our lives on the phone, and we're watching little reels and shorts and TikToks and things like that. So, that makes it tough, but we do really invite people to check the album out, and to your point of it's like, well, if it doesn't grab me, like 1 minute into the first song, I'm out, right? So I'm good with that. I'll throw down that gauntlet. You check this
You did
album,
good.
put it out. You just try song one, boom. After 1
did a heck
minute,
of a
if you're
job.
not hooked, then move on to something else.
Do 30 seconds. You're going to be hooked. I'm telling you.
We're
I
pretty
love it.
confident. We're pretty confident with what we have, and we feel that it rocks.
Good. That's what matters. Well, thank you
Does.
guys for being on. We really appreciate your time tonight. It's been a great conversation. So thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Absolutely.
Hang out here
Yeah.
for just a second. Let me take us out of here, and then we'll tap for another second. So,
Hey,
all right.
Sounds awesome.
Yeah, Bill, move your mic up a little bit. You're
Sorry.
way low. There you
I
go.
got it.
I can hear you.
There you go. All right. So you can find us on all the usual. I think there's a Whitecross. That's the
There
problem.
you go.
There we go. You'll
Not a
find
white
us on
cross.
yeah,
wire
oh, that's
Wire
right.
cross.
Not a white. Yes, I had a wire crossed with Whitecross. So there you go. All right. So you can find us on the usual outlets with podcasting. So go check us out, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Ages of Rock podcast. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and most importantly, tell all your friends. Remember, you're never too old to rock. Until the next episode, peace out, folks.